Welcome to another Calibre podcast. My name is Jacob Sotiris, Digital Director at Calibre Group Solutions. And today I'm joined by someone who, to be honest, I'm really excited to chat to and have been for some time, because with such valuable thoughts and insights around video at such a time as we're going through at the moment, there couldn't be a more appropriate time to have this particular person as we're going into this new normal. So I'd like to welcome to the Calibre podcast, CEO of the CitNOW, Alistair Horsburgh. Alistair, can I just start? That is how you pronounce your name, isn't it?
Do you know what? Many people do it different ways, but it's actually like Edinburgh, so it's Horsburgh. But do you know what? I answer to a lot worse, Jacob, so it's fine.
Fine. I looked at it then and I thought, I better make sure that's right. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, firstly? How are you, family and everyone holding up all right?
Yeah, we're all good. I've got two parents in their 80s, and so they're causing me some interest. My 23-year-old son decided to self-isolate at our house instead of the middle of Liverpool, where he'd been living on his own. So we've had him eating for three whilst he's been with us, and me and my wife runs her own business, so she's been challenged over keeping her staff and the shop open, etc. And we've had our own fair share of challenges at CitNOW as well, but pleased to say that there are definitely some green shoots out there.
Yeah, it's one of those really tough times, but also there's such an opportunity going on at the moment, and I suppose you're quite well placed, I would say, in some ways.
Yeah, so we had some pretty tough choices to make. We made the very bold decision as we went into lockdown to follow government, basically follow the government guidelines. Where markets went into full lockdown, we suspended billing, which was a real challenge for us because obviously that's our livelihood. But we turned to our employees to ask them to sacrifice some days. We moved people to either a 3 or a 4 day a week. We actually only furloughed 4 people who were really basically new members of staff, or people who've got very young families who couldn't quite achieve a work-life balance, which has been really difficult for all of us, I hasten to add. So it's been a testing time, but I'm pretty sure you can ask me a few questions on that. So I'll wait for your questions.
Do you know what? I'm going to try my best to not direct everything towards the current situation, because I think it's out there quite a lot at the minute, and I want to make sure this brings, because we've got someone such as yourself with so much knowledge and value. I just want to get so much value for people that are coming out. I want all the positives that can come out of this situation. I think it's fair to say that you were one of the first to really see the potential in video and in our industry in particular, from both a customer experience point of view, but also kind of transparency with the service side. So I think back in 2008 when you started, the world has changed quite a lot since then when you look at it from a digital perspective. So what kind of sparked off the idea for CitNOW?
My confession is always that I didn't come up with the idea. I was a motor retailer. I was a third generation car guy. And we sold our businesses in 2004 to Arnold Clark, and I got out of the industry for a little while, but then came back in 2010 and found the two founders of this business selling a live video solution. And I got involved with them in early part of 2011, and really we kind of transformed the business over that year into early 2012. And what I found was that it was a remarkably simple tool where I knew back from our retailer days the problems that retailers had both in sales and after sales. But we started with a sales product because trust and transparency was more about after sales, and sales was more about integrity. So could you deliver some integrity? For example, the classic, is the car still in stock? Salespeople might be a little unscrupulous to say, yes, the car's in stock, but maybe it gets sold an hour later and they don't call the customer back. So there's a few things that integrity starts to take over. So I think that became the thing that was most interesting for me, and we built on that. And realistically, we relaunched the business in February 2012, and then we started to go international into various markets. So it was an interesting time, and it was very, very difficult to start off with, because it was. I used to liken it to preaching a new faith, because the car industry was very, very challenging. And you for one, with your great videos in your past dealership environments where you were posting video content out there and being, you know, very much a leader in terms of what you were doing, and people picking up on that, in fact, including me. I picked up on that as well, made contact with you. It was quite challenging because a lot of people don't want to change. And I think that has been the hard reality was, can you get somebody to change? And the industry typically, and human nature to an extent, is quite difficult. You know, we just don't like change, full stop. So, but we managed to put some ideas in place, get some manufacturers behind us. BMW were our first manufacturer client, and it started from there. So it was it's been an interesting journey for the last near 10 years.
I think that's it. It's the mindset, isn't it? The people, you're in a way and it's working. So there's this new thing that's coming along. Why would you? So it's actually a resistance part. Did it kind of start to snowball, do you think, once you'd actually got the first people to acknowledge this is something, we're getting some results, or was it still quite a graft?
So I'll not mention countries, but what I will say to you is that where we go, we're in 56 countries around the world. And in those 56 countries, we've got about 10,000 installations. So we see all kinds of different acceptance rates for video. People just wanting to use it in the workshop, just wanting to use it in the sales department. Very much different attitudes in terms of the way that they would adopt video. And we used to go with three words that would guide us on each market. And it became very difficult to try to have one set of rules for each market that we went in. But we came up with inform, educate, and then lead to start off with, but lead turned into innovate. So inform, educate, and innovate were the three phases that we tried to almost label markets with. So when we went to market country A, we would try and figure out, well, where are they? Where are they on the digital roadmap? You know, a lot of countries in Europe move straight from, you know, cash to credit cards. They missed out checkbooks, for example. So there's a whole host of and digital platforms with telephones and so on and so forth. So the culture was really what drove the change. And the good thing about the way that it went in the car industry in the UK was the manufacturers definitely helped to put an umbrella over it and give some substance to it. And it became, this is why we're almost 99.5% of our customers are franchise dealers. We really don't work with independents. We don't work with other verticals, even though if I had £1 for everybody that asked us if they could go and use video for their consulting firm, maybe we should, but we didn't. We chose to stay with automotive, and as my gran used to say, stick to the knitting, Alistair. So
it's your niche, and you've honed it. But probably part of why you've been so successful with it, because it's known in our industry as the benchmark, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite funny because initially you become paranoid about what goes on, and I don't know whether I'm probably opening up a few cans of worms here, but Facebook memes. No, Facebook memes was the best because you get to see, and there's a great one on there of somebody narrating in the voice of David Attenborough, narrating somebody doing a CitNOW, and it was the native salesperson doing, going literally in the voice of David Attenborough.
And here we have the sales executive in his natural habitat. Here he is doing a CitNOW video where he tries to attract the local customers to the watering hole. Here is a traditional mating ritual where he describes the interior of the car. I say it's a mating ritual because I'm about to it up.
And that's what started me really thinking that, you know what, there are different sectors. People, and salespeople like it, some salespeople don't like it. I still remember to this day when very early days, 2011, going along and training a sales department at a BMW dealership, not very far away from my hometown. And this salesperson had his arms crossed in the corner of the dealer principal's office, saying, "There's no way you'll get me doing a video to any customer. I want my customers in the showroom." And 12 months later, I went back to talk to him, and I asked him, because we found the most difficult person, showed them the light, and they took the light, and this particular salesperson had managed to take his kids to Disney that year because he'd sold more cars. And as a result of it, he figured out that by utilizing video to help him in his day-to-day work, that actually what he could do was make more money. And at the end of the day, That's all we're there for. We're there to help salespeople make more money, and we're there to help after sales teams deliver more trust and transparency. And along with that, generally speaking, comes larger average invoice values. And where those two combine, typically it's a good value for money product. And that's what we have, strived for over the last 10 years.
I think it's that standout, isn't it? As soon as you stand out from someone, there's a cost incurred at the beginning to having a system like this. And I think that's where some people can maybe stop and go, is it worth the cost? But the value of video can just help you completely stand out to the competition. And it's that one area that you can really be creative in as well, to really tailor to your customers, their needs, and just completely stand out to anyone that's selling something similar.
You're not wrong. And you know what, Jacob? People, just because CitNOW exists doesn't mean to say that people can't use other pieces of software. You could do this for free, and you did. You can start this for free and just put videos on YouTube and send them to customers, etc., etc. What we add is an enterprise grade solution. So we put this layer of data protection and resilience around the security around it, some branding for the manufacturer. We give the dealers the ability to manage that platform so that they can watch the videos back, and often recounting so many stories from salespeople in sales meetings, and I've held my fair share of sales meetings as a sales manager. And, you unfortunately, you pick on you push play on the wrong video, and that salesperson gets a bit of grief for the rest of the day because they were too busy, doing their hair or whatever in the middle of the video. But at the end of the day, if you can accept that change is something that you can cope with, and as a salesperson, you know what, when I was a sales manager many moons ago, I used to employ salespeople based upon their ability. It was always face to face. So what would you come across like? How were you in a dialogue situation? And there was lots of different scenarios that you would try and judge salespeople on. But doing a monologue to a video, and you are a prime example of somebody who can do a monologue to a video really, really well. But a lot of people can't do that. They found it really challenging. So it was almost a slightly different skill set that was required, because you didn't need to get any kind of response from a customer. And it was challenging because people, and literally we've seen car salespeople doing 15-minute videos to customers about products on a vehicle. And I used to say to these salespeople, why are you doing 15-minute videos? And they would go, well, I sell 75% of those customers buy a car. And I go, okay, keep doing 15-minute videos. It's not everybody's cup of tea. You could do a 20-second video or a 30-second video. Sometimes it is just about getting that personality across. And it's weird because, and I don't know, you probably experienced it, Jacob. One of the biggest things that salespeople said to me in the early days was, what I don't like, Alistair, is when customers come into the showroom, they come up to me, they know who I am, and they call me my name, and I don't have a clue who they are. And it really frustrates me. And I go, okay, that's fair enough. Did they buy a car? Oh, yes, they bought a car. So what are you worried about then? At the end of the day, don't be vain about this. The customer loves to be in control. So let them be in control.
Yeah, 100%. I think going back to something you just said there, I think it's really important, is some people can do a 15-minute video around a car, and some people, I try and make it so it feels as if you're in that same interaction with the customer. So you wouldn't necessarily always spend 50 minutes trying to show them around a car. It's kind of tailoring it to what they would want to see, but also imagining you with them, which is really hard in one hand because you're looking at a lens rather than a customer that's smiling back at you. But it's trying to get your warmth and your personality across, which I feel like people have in the real world. And as soon as there's a camera there, they can often just go into monotone robot, because it's like the panic button gets pressed as soon as the record button's got on.
It does, but you know what was the biggest challenge we had very early days with the manufacturers was the manufacturers wanted Hollywood. They wanted to have a Hollywood production, and what we would say is, actually, well, you don't need Hollywood. Actually, that's really what you don't want. You don't want Hollywood because the customer wants to be able to think that, actually, okay, this person is not a videographer, they're a salesperson, they can tell me about the car, and I kind of don't care if the video camera goes all over the place. So what was probably more relevant for where we are today is that over the last few months, the world has changed. And as dealerships starting to reopen, what we have done, and we've accelerated, and ironically, as we started with a live video platform back in 2008, we We soon moved away from that, mainly because of broadband restrictions and also trying to get two people in the same place at the same time. And again, that change factor. Today, virtual appointments and virtual handovers are probably the two biggest growth areas that we see from live video over the next month, I would say. And you know, literally, we packed probably 10 years worth of technology advancements in concept have gone forward into what would be 2 months worth of development. And I'm not talking about the actual technology, I'm talking about people's acceptance to that technology. Sometimes people just don't want to accept it. So what we've done is we've enabled literally 2,500, so about a quarter of our customers right now have been enabled for live video, and they've been starting to do some tests and testing out for themselves, and just like a corporate version of FaceTime. So it's been different, but that is the part of the new normal. I'm not saying it's all the new normal, but it's going to be an interesting summer as we see dealerships get used to the way that they need to retail and the way that they need to, if you like, push customers, process customers through their workshops and their showrooms for sure.
Quarter of your database are using live at the minute. Have you seen some good results with that? Are people quite keen, engaged with it? Because I do see live being a huge factor. And as you say, it was one of those areas that maybe wasn't an area people wanted to go to, or getting people in the same place. Whereas now, I mean, the likes of Zoom and just this is the world we're living in all of a sudden. It seems like it's so much more plausible.
So I think people are in two camps. Okay, if you were furloughed as a salesperson, then the chances are the only live video that you've been used to is probably FaceTiming your family, or maybe you've had a group of friends who've done a Zoom party of some description, or some kind of watch party on Facebook, whatever it is that you've gone to, and that's maybe the sum total of it. So we think that there's the other camp is obviously those people that have been just bombarded with. I mean, I've never had so many video conferences in my life. You know, literally I have 8 to 10 a day, and it's really difficult to try and, because it's difficult because you're not in the same room. There is no chance for you to take your eyes off the screen. You've got to be, you know, completely dedicated looking at the screen all the time. And what we've seen is a slow uptake on people coming back from being furloughed and talking to lots of dealer groups. You know, literally the top 20 dealer groups in the UK, we work with most of them, and they've all got slightly different variations on a strategy coming back to work. And what we're offering is free webinars for our sales or our workshop installations. We've got a webinar on our live application, and they're all on our website. You can book them online, turn up on them, they're completely free. And we're trying to support our dealership employees coming back to work, and hopefully being able to see the value of doing a live video to a customer or a prospect in some form of interaction. And what is probably, we've literally moved from a monologue to a dialogue now. So that's what we've kind of moved. And whether, you know, we're used to doing about 1 million videos a month pre-COVID, and I would think that we're going to be back to that volume and above that quite quickly. We've already watched Italy go through just little under 2 weeks before, within its sort of market release, open up again, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see that market back at pre-COVID video volume already. So
wow,
green shoots everywhere. But yeah, I think the live video could be an interesting one. I'm not too sure on the video volume yet. We're going to have to wait and see how does it play out against recorded video against live video. But some interesting comments coming back. We can see the customer comments, and they can rate it out, they can rate it out of 5 stars, and some interesting commentary in there. Clearly, salespeople testing it between one another, and a few jokes flying backwards and forwards. But in the main, customers are really very, very positive and enthused about the fact that they don't necessarily need to visit the showroom. And I'm one of these people, Jacob. I'm not absolutely convinced. In fact, I'm not convinced that dealerships are going to be rendered useless and customers are just going to go online and buy cars. So, you know, using your digital and online platforms to help you to sell more cars, yeah, I can believe in that and I buy that. And therefore, what we've got to do as a supplier to the sector is try and make sure that our tools and our products are as versatile as possible to help the retailer to sell more cars and hopefully keep more customers happy through the workshop.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a shift of the ways of working for a dealership, but it's not the end of dealerships by any means. It's just putting a real spotlight on strings to your bow of things that can help you, and going, look, you really need to put some effort into this, but it's not the be all and end all. It's just, this is more prominent now than ever. Do you think that comes into recruiting maybe with new teams coming in? I know it's a bit of a strange area at the moment for automotive about recruiting in, and it might not be, but going forward, video is going to be such a big part in everything in automotive. So do you think it needs almost to start from people coming in and just making sure they're ready, trained, and going from the off?
Yeah, I think that from what we've seen is that over the last couple of years, so my wife just brought me a cup of coffee, Luxie. So over the last couple of years, we've seen dealerships utilizing CitNOW video or video content to try and get a perspective on whether a salesperson how they come across on a video. And I think, because CitNOW is, we're in about 75% of all franchise dealerships in the UK use our product. And so what you've got is a lot of salespeople who are working one dealership who probably, listen, I can send you a CitNOW. I've done Mr. Jones. Let me just send you that one. You can see what I look like on a video. There's quite a bit of that. However, I think that the world of, should we say, the academy related, so training, onboarding, coaching, educating salespeople and other members of the team through video as a medium is definitely going to be on the table. Certainly we've been talking to you guys at Caliber before about this, and previous work we've done with Sabina on the programs, manufacturer programs with product experts, etc., has been certainly the theme out there. So yeah, I think the video got an interesting place and an interesting part to play. I just think that we need to be a little bit careful that we don't overface anybody with too much, but then we've got to find a balance. The customers, it's a new normal, and it's really, really difficult because we're not going to go back to what we were like before. It's just not going to happen. And there is a challenge out there, which is for those people who have not experienced it, those furloughed salespeople, that there's some education to happen, and there's definitely that's a path to go down.
Right, that's the end of part one with Alistair, CEO of CitNOW. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. Make sure that you've followed us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the usual ones. And join us on part two for some more value. Can I just... Is that a green screen behind you, or are you in an office?
No, I actually have got a green screen behind me, believe it or not. The only thing that gives it away generally is my headrest. There you go, there's the green screen behind me.
Amazing.
I've got a few backgrounds with CitNOW on there. Every now and again you have a bit of a funny one, so we can have a funny one here, which gets off there with just to add a bit of joviality to the morning. So.